The FNRad Snowboard Podcast is presented by Vans. Before I start the show, I want to thank listener Corey Octoon for inviting me to stay at his place for the Legends of Tahoe event that took place at Donner this weekend. It was organized by Mike Chantry and included a hand-dug halfpipe, a slalom race course, lots of pre-90s boards, a concert with the Hatchet Brothers band Fortress, and legendary attendees including Todd Richards, Bass, Sean Palmer, Tom Burt, and Smoke and Jay, just to name a few. Unfortunately, I got the COVID and had to take a rain check until next year. Thanks again, Corey. I hope you guys had a blast. Season 7 of FNRad is sponsored by Wired Snowboards, the Boardroom Snowboard Shop, Anon Optics, Timebomb Trading, the Canadian distributor of Dragon goggles and Stance socks, and so much more. And of course, Tribute Board Shop in Nelson, BC. Wired Snowboards has had a big year, signing ultra legend Devin Walsh to the team, expanding their staff to keep up with demand, and non-stop innovation on materials, graphics, and everything in between. Personally, my favorite thing about Wired is their ability to build incredible custom boards for about the same price as many companies' stock boards. Owning a board with such a personal connection to the design and build process is such an amazing experience. I highly recommend doing it. Check out wiredsnowboards.com for more details about how you can design a one-of-a-kind board from a Canadian snowboarding company with deep roots in snowboarding's history. Jeff Davis is a Utah legend who still shreds more than many young snowboarders today. Jeff was on the Burton Pro team with Craig Kelly, Brushy, Duckboy, Jacoby, and Jason Ford in the heyday of yellow pants and 19-inch stances. He invented the Crippler, as many of you have heard in the Legends of Utah episode a couple of years back. I was stoked to sit down one-on-one with Jeff Davis, whose priceless board collection contains some one-of-a-kind boards I'd never seen anywhere else. Here's my interview with legend Jeff Davis.
Freestyle BMX came around. That really was the first taste of learning how sponsorships works, and all of a sudden I'm getting paid to go do local events,
demos,
state fairs, and this, that, and the other. And I'm getting free bikes from Haro Bikes. I'm getting a little bit of money, and I'm, now I'm like 15, 16 years old.
Yeah.
Already kind of into skiing and snow. I've skied my whole life, and snowboarding has always been there. And that's now 17, 18 years old. Snowboarding becomes the big thing, and we start going to contests, and we start getting looked at, and Salty Peaks happens, and I get sponsored by GNU Snowboards, and then it's off to the races. It was insane.
Right. You talked about, I guess, GNU was being sold out of Salty Peaks, so a rep would have came in and been like, hey, do you got anybody in the shop that's worth hooking up with?
I think we went to, I forget if it was Wolf Creek or it was somewhere in Colorado for sure. And those whole Northwest crew, Mervyn crew, that we would call them now, was the GNU crew back then. Donnelly, Carter Turk,
wow,
all those guys, were coming down from the Northwest, and they're on these boards that are just unlike anything else we'd ever seen.
Yeah,
we're just like, oh my gosh, and they were, you could tell they were hand built, but just the way that they looked and the way that they rode, it was amazing.
Yeah,
and Dennis and Drew start Salty Peaks, and that was like, of course, you're going to have Burton and, the Sims. But GNU we went heavy into GNU, and like the whole team, that's like when Salty Peak, we start, we're going to have a team because we got to go down to Donner Ski Ranch and beat the Go Skate team and all that kind of stuff. So we all rode GNUs, and they were the most gnarly, hard, those black boards with the green stripe anti-gravities were, I don't even think I could ride one right now.
Ironing boards. Just gnarly. But the concept, I saw one in real life. I saw a pink concept in real life, and I flexed it, and that board that's a current board. Like, yes. You could put that out right now, and it would be, I'm sure they've reissued it. It was an awesome board for the time.
I think that one, the one I'll show you later, is with different sidewalls. It was before the capped. This one was really cool that I thought that it had a sticker top sheet too. It was like, no graphics, no sublimation, no nothing. It was just, and then they gave me another extra sticker which was like one of the coolest things ever. And so I saved all that stuff, of course. You know,
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm a snowboard hoarder.
Yeah, that's great.
On appropriate things, though.
Yeah, totally. So how do you get bought away from GNU? Like, was GNU just giving you boards, and then Burton saw some potential there and was like, hey, well.
No, GNU, once I got sponsored by GNU, they actually started paying me money. I think it was when I qualified into, I believe it was the 87 Breckenridge World Championships. They put me on a Chaos, which I still have downstairs too. I think it's a 150, like super mini. But I was so, I didn't think that I qualified. I thought I did really good, and I was bummed up. And Donnie's like, dude, you should be in there. I'm just like, whatever. And I'm walking away, and all of a sudden they're like, Jeff Davis, you need to be at. And so I made the finals, which I didn't realize that I'd made the finals. And
sick.
So I made the finals at that Breckenridge World Champion, which was the biggest contest of the year.
It was the Swatch
World Championships. That was the big one. Burt Lamar, he had won it. Terry Kitt. I mean, it was just a massive event. And after that, I don't remember what I even placed, but I know I made the top 10 or top 16. And they put me on the GNU world team. And that's when, it was, again, like I said, it was off to the races.
They were paying you money, like a couple $100 a month kind of thing, or?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
For probably, I think I was under 21, because I remember turning 21 in Mount Hood, Oregon, to be legally. And at that Breckenridge, we were you could drink when you were 18 or 19 in Colorado back then.
Shit.
So we would, we were just, like, oh, we can drink beers,
getting
and have
wasted,
fun,
having such a good time.
And at the snowboard contest. So anyway, I got to travel the world with GNU, which was really fun. I was pretty much the one guy on the world team with Susie Riggins, Gene Higgins, and Amy Howitt. And so,
oh wow,
my first time going to Europe, this is absolutely insane. That it was with those three girls, and then it was me on the GNU snowboard team, and then of all other people, Mike Rankwit was on GNS. So Mike Rankwit and I are on, we're the two guys and these three girls, and we're traveling Europe together.
Wow.
And I mean, I'll still never forget this with Rankwit. Rap is starting to come out, but we're still really into Led Zeppelin and everything. And we were on this train, which was really cool. I think we were going from Munich to Austria. I don't know. We were going from Germany to Austria, something like that. But we were playing Houses of the Holy, Led Zeppelin, and just in this train and going through these, it was really epic. And I'll never forget that, because it was, it was a really good time, and to start my career off that way was, really cool. And Rankwit and I, we haven't talked to each other for years, but I know we have a special friendship, because it was just so new and eye-opening, of like, oh my gosh, this is insane. And he was always so funny. He would always, the girls would have their own room, we'd have our room, of course, and he would go in there after the girls are always unpack their clothes and grab all their clothes and mix them up like a salad. So they just toss their clothes all around in just a huge heap. And Rankwit was always the instigator. Love that guy forever. I just can't. Just hilarious. So many stories.
That's dope. So what was the purpose of that European trip? To do the world tour? That was the World Cup.
That was a world tour, World Cup. I think we went to the Alberg region of Austria, Lech Zurz. That was a big time in my life to go over there.
How old were you?
I was probably 19 or 20 years old.
Yeah.
Back then.
Yeah,
so,
and traveling getting a ticket to Europe, and then getting on the trains. And did you have to pay for the stuff up front and they'd pay you back, or there was a company card or something?
No, that was what was really cool, is they had a team manager that set everything up and had all the flights and accommodations all taken care of, which was helped a lot.
That's really organized for early,
back then, yes.
For early snowboarding.
Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's rad.
And I mean,
how did you do? Who was the standout of that group? Because I know Rankwit never really did that well in contests.
Probably Gene Higgins, or Amy Howitt.
Yeah.
I don't know how I fared. I mean, I was always kind of up in the top 10.
Yeah.
it was tough back. It's always tough. It's tough these days.
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah. So who were the big competitors back then? So you guys are doing alpine and freestyle events if there are any.
Yeah, it was moguls sometimes. Half pipe if they could make one. Gates. It was always an experiment. It seemed like. But there's Craig Kelly, Palmer. Terrier wasn't quite there yet. He was still young. Bert Lamar, some Europeans, Bertrand, Denevold. There's some Petra Musig on the women's side. There was a lot of heavy hitters back then.
That's an era. Yeah, that's an era.
That is actually Jean Nerva and Peter Bauer. There's so many good time. I'm sure there's a lot of good times in this era of snowboarding too. I'm partial to my era of the things that went down and I was at Brighton the other day and riding up the lift, watching what the kids were doing made me feel so good to see that the same thing is still happening all these years later, that the freedom of expression, the freedom that snowboarding. And now skiing too. Skiing was a very kind of a rigid sport, but I can see that it's crossed over definitely into from snowboarding has given it a lot of influence.
Yeah.
But to see the kids just ride how they want to ride, they don't care.
Yeah.
And I am so proud that I have a little part, I think, to do with that way back in the day of we need to ride rails, we need to make half pipes, we need to do all this stuff. It's And to see that made my heart, I was just like, wow, I'm so glad that this is still going on,
So you ride where it's good, I'm guessing then, right? Or have you switched from the Bird to Brighton for political reasons?
Economical reasons.
Economic reasons. What's happened with snowboards just gotten crazy expensive?
It's the pandemic has done a lot of weird things, and so the last year I was out of a job and I couldn't commit to $1,100 to go up to Snowboard. Like, I just can't commit. I have a job. I can't. So I'm trying to be frugal and fiscally smart. So then I get a job at Specialized, which was great. They paid good. I'm like, all right, I'll go to Woodward this year because I've missed all the good deals. And it was actually really fun to go to Woodward last year. And,
oh, hell yeah.
Learn how to jump. 52, 53-year-old man, trying to jump again and trying to do a method took me a long,
Wow, that's awesome.
It's just like you don't do that. It's one of those things.
I've been there, man. I've been there trying to relearn methods.
I can throw a powder slash and I can ride down. But if you're not doing the tricks, you're not doing the rails, you're gonna get hurt. And you common sense for me now. I've been hurt too many times. But anyway, so I went to Woodward and that was great and it was fun. And then again, the job issue came up and I'm like, I can't commit to Snowboard. And Snowboard did get a little bit greedy with their parking. And the canyon is really, it's an issue right now. That's a whole nother story with what the transportation going up and down Big and Little
Dude,
Cottonwood
there was
Canyon.
6 people off the road today on the way up to Brighton.
Oh, yeah.
Between the way up and the way down, it was probably more like 8.
Yep.
There were people upside down in the ditch. Like, it was serious.
Yep.
There was a rear end where somebody just looked like full speed into the back of another car. It was nuts. It was nuts. But it was because it's Thursday, because tomorrow was supposed to be the powder day, and it must have snowed. I'm gonna say 10 inches overnight, maybe 8 to 10 inches. It was. People were slow to get there. Like I was in line 10 minutes before they opened. And there was probably 50 people in front of me. That's it.
Yep.
So that's like a reasonable amount of people.
Yep.
I know at our home mountains for POW Day, oh my God, you got to be there 2 hours early. So this phenomenon's happened where because you have to be there 2 hours early and you're lining up for 2 hours, why wouldn't you just walk to the top? So people are just like, sneakily walking to the top and tracking it out before it even opens up.
Yep.
Like, to get fresh tracks now, like, I got to say, seeing the patrollers come down, those
their beards totally caked,
getting the best tracks.
Yes.
They took like the straight up best runs.
We had to do it.
Yeah. But I don't fault them. They were very nice. I rode up with a ski patrol guy, and he said they were going to open the Snake
Snake Creek, yeah.
Snake
Good,
Creek
good.
lift. So
Huh.
that'll open up some more good terrain.
Some more terrain,
and,
absolutely.
And I hear there's night skiing up there, but that road was chaos.
And a lot of it is the road management. We're supposed to have snow tires. The thing I look at is when they say chains and snow tires, going up the canyon. Well, who's up at the top of the canyon checking the people coming down from Alta, Snowbird, Brighton, Solitude, that live up there?
Right.
That's
right.
always been a questionable thing, and there's never been a decent answer about that. But I chose Brighton this year really because I could get. I once again I'm working weekends, which I love. I'm psyched. So I got a weekday pass.
Oh, those are great.
And
Those are the
there's some
best.
blackout days, but that's I don't. Why
Monday
do I?
to Friday, all day, all night. That's
Why
the
do I
best
want to
one.
go
Yeah.
on the busiest days of the
when they're
weekend?
blacking them out anyways? Yeah, no. That's
so-
those are the best passes.
Absolutely.
If you can ride up there during the week,
Yep.
you're psyched. You're totally psyched. Okay, so like going back in time again, there's got to be a point where Burton comes to you at a contest and says, Jeff, would you consider riding for us?
It was Paul Alden. He was the team manager of. I'm going to throw it out there. Dave Alden and Rick Alden. Rick Alden is the one who started Skull Candy.
Yeah.
And now runs Stance. And Dave Alden. We've been friends with the Alden for forever with Salty Peaks and all that stuff. And Paul Alden, their father, was in charge of like of contest organizing for a bunch of years, and he got a bad rap, trying to organize it all. But anyway, somehow, some way, he ended up becoming the Burton team manager, and he's just a smart guy, and the Burton team was staged out of Park West back in the day. It's now called the Canyons, and they had their training camp there.
Oh, right.
And I had a season pass there, so when I'm riding Gnu and they're seeing me and what I don't know, and I'm beating people, I'm doing good, and so Paul Alden's like, gives me a few ultimatums of like, hey, if you don't sign with Burton, I'm gonna take your girlfriend away. I'm not gonna tell you who the girlfriend. Oh, it's Tina Bassage back then,
You dated Tina.
See, that's the funny thing is,
wow.
we dated for about 3 years when we were very young.
Oh, that's sweet.
Very, very.
She's an
young.
amazing person.
Oh, she's absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
So
That's cool.
it was one of those, and I chewed tobacco back then, and I was so young. And then it's Burton. I mean, it is freaking Burton snowboards. And as a kid, I remember getting a Burton catalog, and my first board was a Burton. Well, I should say my first board. I had other board, but my first true one was the Burton Woody.
Yeah.
And I'd look through the catalog. And I'm like, oh my gosh, look at they've all boots and clothes. They always made everything. And so finally the day the whole Mount Hood incident kind of went down with. Gnu being switched over to a new company and things getting a little bit rocky there. And I'm like, well, my best course of action is actually they sent me up to the Blackcomb Summer Surf Out. Paul Alden orchestrated that. I just remembered this, that so there's a summer surf out up there, up in Blackcomb, and I'm about ready to drop into the halfpipe, and I think it was Ken Achenbach announcing the contest. He's like, here's Jeff Davis. He's a canoe rider. And I dropped in, and it's like, wait, no, he's on a Burton now. and I ride down on a Burton, and I ended up winning the overall. I didn't win everything, but I won. I did good enough to win the overall of the whole contest. So I won, I don't know, like
sick.
$1,500 or something crazy like that on a weekend trip from I was already at Mount Hood. And so I come back. I go up there with Gnu snowboards. I come back fully Burtoned out. Still hadn't signed a contract or anything like that.
Wow.
Come back with all these Burton boards and all this stuff. So later that I guess it would be probably fallish when the big trade show. I think it was outdoor. I'm not sure. It was the Long Beach trade show down in Long Beach, California.
Yeah.
Big trade show down there. I'm like, I'm going to sign a contract with Burton. I'm just going to do it. And I remember Paul Alden coming over to my hotel and picking me and Tina up, and we went out to dinner, and I signed my Burton contract.
Oh, man. She would have been pretty supportive of that move.
Absolutely. I think her Kemper stuff was starting to, I'm not sure if Kemper They built a team. They went huge really quick. I remember Tina being able to go on photo shoots. You know, they all of a sudden the whole team is going to Blackcomb and helicopters and this and that. You know, it was pretty neat. So yeah. So Burton,
are they paying you money now too? They're like you're on a.
So when it's all of a sudden I signed the Burton contract.
Yeah,
that was insane because now all of a sudden Oakley becomes.
Ooh yeah.
You know, they're a team sponsor, so and then all of a sudden we get a new Cross M Jerry Masterpool,
right.
And you know that this time we're still all doing everything. There's only a few specialized, like Jeff Brushy was kind of more specialized.
Yeah,
he was really pushing, like I don't like the hard boots. Jimmy Scott never even put on a so he was always I'm a roller skater. I'm gonna ride half pipe and that's it. You know, I like the whole aspect of I just thought it was fun to just try it. And I thought and I know it made me a better snowboarder.
Oh, of course.
Even to this day.
Yeah.
I was just saying that the other day. I'm like, if I could mount my bindings that I ride now on one of my old A-Sims, I would love to ride this corduroy. That's all there is to ride right now.
Right.
So Burton was an amazing experience. So I remember, okay, I've signed the contract. What happens next? And whatever, a couple weeks later, like, all right, Jeff, we need to get you outfitted. We've sent you a couple of brochures or catalogs. Go through. What do you need? And this is like literally the dream of all dreams come true that you go through the Burton catalog, and I'm just being conservative. I'm like, well, boards were no issue. Boards, boots, and bindings were that was, now it's clothing. How do you want to look? How the attire? Because at this time this is now 89, 90, right? When I'm moving into Burton, they're huge. They've got all different color ways and multiple. Not as big as they are now, but they're massive in my eyes. And so to have, I'll take maybe one of those. Well, you probably want 3 of those. And everything I'm like, maybe, and I'm starting to learn maybe 2. He's like, well, take 5. And so whatever, at the end of the day, I'm done with my order, and a week or so comes by, and I mean, I can't even explain. It just the piles of stuff. GNU was the same way. It was just boards and bindings. They didn't do some gloves and stuff like that. They were, we did a little bit of clothing, but Burton was a powerhouse, was an absolute powerhouse. It was unbelievable the amount of stuff that they would come through my door, just blowing my freaking mind. And they're paying me too, just like, oh my God.
That's nuts. That's awesome.
So you're a young 20-something-year-old kid just flying, and that was the same thing with Burton, that they took care of everything. Nice. I remember one time going over to, I think it was Japan, and we had the top floor of a 747 for the Burton team. Oh, and then when we land, the intercom's like, Craig Kelly, there is an emergency phone call for you, Mr. Craig Kelly. And as soon as we land, and it's Paul Alden, like, did everyone make it there okay? It was like surreal. Like, Burton, I only was on only for a year, but it was a good year, and I'll tell you why it ended. So I have another good story about the Burton team. We were in Duckboy Wallace. I think Alex Warburton was there. I always got roomed with Jacoby.
Yeah.
It seemed like if I wasn't with if Kelly Joe wasn't there with Craig, I would room with Craig.
Rad.
Which was really cool.
Yeah.
But I remember sitting in. Duckboy was so mad, I don't know, about Europe for some reason. He sat there and drew it. We're sitting in the airport. I think it was Munich again. We're sitting in the airport, and he drives this giant American flag on his snowboard bag and says something like "never go back." I don't know what it was. It was just classic Duckboy. I mean, I remember driving up to Baker with Duckboy. He was so mad at his hard boots. He tied him on the back of his car. And he just bounced around. Driving up the road, the access road to Baker was a pretty fun one too.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
It was the Baker Bank Slalom, I think it was.
Sweet.
And we were just, what's the little town down there? Not Glacier, the little town.
Glacier,
tiny.
Yeah,
tiny one. Because Burton had the money to get us hotels and stuff. And
yeah.
And so Duck Boy lived in what part of Idaho? The Panhandle.
Sandpoint or something.
Something like that, yeah. So he would probably drive. We'd room together. But I just remember he was so mad at those hard wheels. Like, I'm so glad I don't have to wear these things ever again. And he'd clank all the way up the road.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
So the ending of my Burton, so that year, Super Bowl Sunday, it was the Vision Shootout in the Snow contest at Squaw Valley. Halfpipe, I don't know if they were moguls. I know there's halfpipe and there was gates for sure. There was GS and slalom. Of course, I'm a halfpipe specialist. Try to be anyway. I do my first run and I do my signature trick, the Crippler. And back then they had a law or a rule that said you had to place your hand on the top of the halfpipe before your board broke the plane of the vertical part of the halfpipe. And I did my trick and the judges, nope, he's DQ'd. I'm like, man, and I'm feeling pretty good. And all of a sudden, Andy Coughlin and Paul Alden, the team manager, was like, nope, we're going to dispute this. $20. It costs $20 to file a complaint.
Yeah.
They go back and people had it on film. Dan Donnelly, I think, qualified first, had a kick-ass run. I remember that for some reason because he did a badass hand plant.
Nice.
But so Andy Coughlin, the dog, and Paul Alden go fight my protest. And I win the protest. So I get to take another run and I end up winning the contest.
Oh, wow.
And that's the first time I believe that that Craig Kelly had ever been beat in a contest in a halfpipe in 4 years.
Holy shit.
And that was like massive. It was Super Bowl Sunday. I remember I'm just walking around, like coming back home or whatever, and Jake Burton comes up to me, and he's like, "Jeff, you won." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "You won the contest. You won the halfpipe contest. We got to go. You got an interview. You got all that." I'm like, "Oh my God." And I didn't even have my board with my Salty Peak stickers on it or anything like that. So I used Jason Ford's board. And I think their team back east was the Boarding House or something like that.
Yeah.
But it was like I needed a Burton board to show that so I forgot who was in the Super Bowl, but yeah, I'd beat Craig. So anyway, I beat Craig, and that was kind of like the end of it, whatever. So I'm up at summer camp that summer. Now I'm full on Burton. I'm full on Burton. This is the next summer, still at the Carroll Snowboard Camp. And I'm down at the laundromat in Hood River because I got into windsurfing, total wind junkie. And, I'm Hood River right there, Mount Hood, why not? And I'm down at the local laundromat doing my laundry, and this guy comes up to me. He's like, "How'd you get those Burton stickers on your sailboard?" I'm like, "Well, I was dumbfounded."
Yeah.
He's like, "Well, I'm the new team." I'd never met this guy before. And he's like, "I'm the new team manager, and I've never seen rice stickers on a sailboard, a Burton rice stickers." And I guess a rice sticker means that's something that you lay on and then you fiberglass over. But these were just normal stickers that I just Burton stickers that I just stuck on my sailboard because I was super psyched to be riding for first Burton. And I'm riding I think it was a Sailboards now. It's in my backyard, actually. It's still out there.
Nice.
And so I meet him, and he's like, "Well, I'm like, "I'm Jeff. I ride for Burton Snowboards." "Oh, I'm the new." I will never. I can't remember this guy's name for the life of me because he maybe not have lasted very long. But so later on down the road, the negotiations come in. My contract's ending up, and now I have to talk to this guy on. Hey, remember me?
Exact guy.
The same guy. You remember me? We talked at Mount Hood, and he's like, "Well, Jeff, you're no Craig Kelly." And I'm like, "Well, I know I'm not Craig Kelly. I'm Jeff Davis. I just beat Craig Kelly. I was, and they didn't want to up my money or anything like that. They were just like, well, we're just going to let you sit right here and we'll see how your results play out this year. And we'll kind of go from there. New corporate guy, and I remember that when we went to Jake Burton's house a year before, after the U.S. Open, is like Paul Alden, before Paul was the team, he's like, "For some reason, Jeff, Jake really likes you, man. I don't know, he really likes you." And that's always stuck in my heart, which is really cool. And that's what kind of burned me, is that this guy comes in and says all that stuff. And, it's just like, all right, I don't want to do this, but, here's Ken Kelly over here from Nitro, because Drew Salty Peaks this is nothing backstabbing or anything behind the back, but, they wanted me too. They're like, wow, a local guy here. Salty Peaks is heavily involved in our, and all of a sudden I'm like, dude, this Burton thing's just all of a sudden gone really sour. And then here's Nitro like, well, let's put together a package for you, Jeff.
Rad.
And now I'm like 23, 24 years old, a little bit seasoned, kind of, figured out I'm worth something.
Yeah.
This is still before anybody had any managers or, agents or anything. And
Right.
they didn't need any of that,
Yeah.
There wasn't any money in snow, there wasn't much anyway. So, I just, all of a sudden they're like, hey man, we've got a package for you. And it ended up being great.
Yeah.
I was super psyched, and it I don't know where I would have went with Burton. I wish they would have had more faith in me. I would, but then again, I'm psyched to where I was with Nitro, but then Nitro kind of dropped me like a hot rock too after my injury. So, you weigh the scales and they come out even, I guess in a way. I cannot complain or bitch about anything because it was such a rad time in my life.
Right.
It was just so. And now, again, like I said about Brighton the other day, and to throw some reels back in my head of like, those kids are funny, but we did some funny. We started that. We started that.
Yeah, yeah.
And I feel pretty good that it's, not trying to get anybody hurt, but we're having fun.
Yeah.
And it's just good-natured fun, and it is. I'm just glad that, I have no complaints.
Yeah, of course.
When for the most part.
Yeah, when you get on Nitro, do they already have the pyro, or do you help design that thing? Because your board on there is a pro model.
Mine was
pyro.
a Pyro LE limited edition.
Yeah,
So yes,
yeah.
they did have the Pyro before.
Yeah.
Yes, it was the Pyro. Mine was the Pyro LE, which was really cool. That I got to sit
It
down.
was a cap board, wasn't it?
No, that was the second year.
That was the second year.
The first
Okay.
year was just a traditional board, but it was everything was foam core.
Yep.
I just pleaded with them. You've got to make it wood core. You
Sweet.
have to make it wood
You
core.
knew that at the time.
Absolutely.
Like you felt that just from breaking foam core
Well,
boards
all
or
those
something?
earlier GNUs, all those
right.
black and greens were all foam cores, and
cores,
those things would just
Yeah, you could snap them.
they would just crumble. So
you went in and demanded a wood core board for the LE.
Yes,
You're
yes.
like, you know what? Just do one with wood core. Put my name on it. You got a badass product.
and we're going to do graphics. So it was really neat to sit down and with Mike Dawson. I'm going to throw him out there because he was a great guy. And
Quinn Sandvold mentioned him too.
Cool. Yeah, he was. Mike Dawson's a great designer, really cool guy. To sit down with him and just go back and forth was really neat at such a young age. I
Yeah.
could only imagine like skateboarders and snowboard. Like it was a really neat experience. You know?
That would be so fun. And then what is now you're taking the Crippler back to defend, like you've beaten Craig Kelly at least once. You're going back on the tour for Nitro. Did you go? Yeah, you would have to go on Nitro clothing and all that stuff. Like it's a stripped down program, right?
No, well, that was what was really kind of cool and kind of scary because, like we talked about before, with the early GNU, everything was taken care of with travel and accommodations. Burton travel and accommodations were taken. All of a sudden, I deliberately kind of learned my lesson. Like I want to take control of my own destiny.
Yep.
And I don't want money per board because I don't know how many you're literally going to sell. So I ended up striking a deal getting paid from both or all three of the distributors, the Japanese distributor, the European distributor, and the American distributor.
Wow.
So I got a no injury clause in there, which I don't know how and why. That's probably why my injury happened, but I got a no injury clause, so they could.
What the fuck is a no injury clause?
Back then in the day, because snowboarding had it still has inherent risks, but
Yeah.
Everyone had an injury clause. If you got hurt riding, they could cut your pay.
Oh my.
And
God,
then
that's
you're
insane.
you're 20-year-old, 23-year-old, whatever. I think I was 24, 25 when my injury happened, and it was nothing related. Well, it was related to snowboarding because I was driving to a snowboard event. But so I crafted a pretty cool contract. And
Hell yeah.
and at one point, it was figured that I was probably one of the top 3 highest paid snowboarders at that time. You know, I mean,
Amazing.
this was before Sean Palmer even had a signature model. I mean, I think it was Craig Kelly had a legitimate one. I had a legitimate one. Peter Bauer and Jean Nerva with Burton, of course. But then there's, you know, these
Rankwit had one.
Rankwit with
Gordon.
with GNS. You know, there was, you know, so it was, you know, there was. And then that was after that. I mean, the floodgates opened for signature models.
Oh, hell yeah.
Everybody,
Right. But at that time,
it was absolutely genuine, legit, and I did a good, you know, I pat myself on the back for making that negotiation happen. And then of course, a year and a half into my contract, into a 3-year contract, I get, you know, hit head on going to the last contest of the year on April Fool's Day, going to Bend, Oregon, and my femur and hip get shattered. So,
oh man,
you know, I'm 24, 25 years old. And so I bounced back pretty quick. What I thought for that, you know, type of injury back then, I think I bounced back pretty quick. Nitro, I mean, back then it was still just so contest driven. The video only parts were kind of starting to emerge, and you still couldn't quite just be a video guy. You know,
Right.
you still had to pay. You had to, you know, this is, you know, no Instagram, no internet. This wasn't even before internet. You know?
No,
I mean,
exactly.
this is insane. So,
yeah.
they had to just ride me out for the next year and a half. And I came back as strong as I could and did the best that I could. And then there was just no negotiation after that. It was just kind of just, all right, you know. To me, it felt like I was a horse at the Kentucky Derby that broke its leg, and they took me out to the pasture and just shot me.
Oh fuck.
You know.
Yeah,
So
that's
I was a
kinda
little
not-
butthurt
yeah.
for a while.
Yeah. I don't blame you.
But I still had a lot of other things going. I got into judging, which was really cool, and I'm glad that I did that to help really educate. And I know I did that. I know for a fact that I helped educate the judges on what you need to look for. You know,
The people who were running the snowboard industry weren't the people who were snowboarding at a high level. So there was a divide between, say, the judges. Like sometimes they would just gather like local ski patrol, somebody who worked for the mountain, the guy who drove the cat to get the snow going. You know what I mean?
Or they were the contest. You know, was the Burton U.S. Open? It was all Burton employees that were, you know, or something like that.
Right.
You know,
So like having a legit competitive snowboarder as a judge, and I think Fulton got injured kind of around the same time. Was Jeff Fulton a judge when you were a judge?
I think I've judged with Jeff one or two times for sure. Yeah.
So like that's probably a direct result of the backlash against the terrible judging.
I kind of felt it was my duty because nobody else was like stepping up, and you know, it was bittersweet though. It was bittersweet to have to tell your friend, dude, you wrecked. You sucked. I'm sorry, man. I mean, it was the reality of like, I had to be true, and I had to, you know, like this stuff shouldn't happen. It goes on the merits of your riding, not on who you are or what board you ride, or, you know, it's at the time and the place of what you've done right there in front of my face, you know, judging. And now I'm a huge critic, like watching Red Bull Rampage and how it's judged. And it's definitely, this year was one of the better ones that I've seen with their monitors that they use, and they get to watch playbacks, which we never had the luxury of back in the early days.
So
it was
away,
instantaneous. If the judging, if you didn't have a score up on the board within a minute or two, the crowd's freaking out, and they're you know, they're concocting something, and you know, it was never any of that. It was always, the banner was probably me, like, they sat down. Yeah, sure, you can take an airplane off in the air and fly around. It looks great. But if you can't land it, what's it worth?
Right.
If everyone dies on the landing, it doesn't mean anything. So that was kind of the way I kind of looked at it, like, you know. And again, even to this day, to me, less is more. Mm-hmm. I always took in, yeah, you've got a lot of tricks in your bag, but when you're at contest mode, you should probably not try your hardest trick. You should probably do your next hardest trick that you can do best, you know.
Yeah, man.
You know, so.
Yeah, well, that's good that it brought some integrity to it. But this this injury, did Nitro exercise this injury clause?
No, there's nothing they could do.
Oh.
No, there's nothing. No, they had to. So I was out for 6 months.
Wait, so was the injury clause good for you?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
The injury clause was good because
Holy
they
shit,
could.
I thought it was the other way around.
No,
I thought
no.
it was like, if you get injured, you're off the team.
No,
We're
well, that's
cutting your
back
shit.
then. It would back then.
Yeah.
If there was most companies had an injury clause, like if you got injured, we're going to cut your pay.
Yeah.
And I got that taken out. I'm like, you
got it taken
I got that
out.
injury clause taken
Good
out.
for you,
yeah,
man.
And that's what I said. Like, was probably a bad omen because a year and a half later is when my halfway into my 3-year contract, I get in a car wreck.
Yeah.
So the next year and a half, well, they still paid me, but it just never felt the same. It was, like I said, I felt like I was just a wounded animal back. I ain't good for nothing. And then now you look at any other athlete, which is great that, all the companies support them. Like they'll let them take 6, 8, whatever months off. I'm sure there's still, maybe there is an injury clause. I don't know,
Sure.
but these guys are probably paid way more than I ever even thought of.
Well, the Red Bull guys have a rehab center for all their extreme sport. I haven't said extreme sports in so long, but for all their athletes. Action sports,
extreme
athletes.
sports.
They're action sports athletes. All their athletes, right? Like to be. My son's friend wanted to be a Red Bull athlete. That's what his goal was. And I was like, what is that? He's like, well, I do trampoline, but like there are Red Bull athletes in all sorts of sports.
Everything.
I was like, wow, fuck, that's a weird thing to aspire to. But at the same time, like when I look at, my son's friend, what he has to do to become a Red Bull athlete, it's impossible. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's impossible.
That is so funny you say that because I was just watching a video on YouTube about Jackson Goldstone, a young, up-and-coming, awesome mountain biker, just got his first Red Bull helmet. And that is like a massive, massive thing. I remember drinking Red Bull and red vodka in Austria, and that's the only place you could get it.
Yeah.
It was illegal everywhere else, and now Red Bull is such a massive powerhouse.
Yeah, it's nuts.
It is nuts.
Yeah, monster. This is the year that I don't talk shit on energy drinks because I just did a year of drinking them. Like I just, I got hooked on them. They're great. They feel nice. In the morning, it's like the alternative to a coffee for me. I get energy all day. I get actually crazy energy. Like it's too much. But I if they're supporting snowboarding, which they are, like they're giving those checks. I don't know why I just defaulted to be on the drink water guy's side where I was like, come on, let's get energy drinks out of here. Let's not have Mountain Dew as a sponsor. But I mean, what do we have? Butterfinger. TDK, right?
Well,
it was like tape, cassettes,
Winston NASCAR racing.
Right.
Winston, right. I mean, it is, unfortunately, it's money, I guess. I mean, it has to spin the wheel. It has to keep things moving. And it just, like I said, seeing that video, like, wow, man, Red Bull has been around a long time, but it doesn't seem like it just because they kind of evolve and keep moving, and it's just like they're not overbearing, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't drink.
yeah.
I've never liked the stuff. I've never liked any of those drinks. Coca-Cola, that's about my hardest drink, soft drink that I'll drink,
Yeah. How funny is that there's hard soft drinks now?
Exactly.
Yeah, man. So what are you doing at the Red Bull Big Air Install? Are you judging, or were you in a couple of those?
Oh, no. The Red Bull, I did their skyscraper, snow scrapers, it was called, in New York City.
Oh, wow.
That was probably 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I think I did a couple other Red Bull one-off events. I'm not sure. I could be wrong on that. I know the snow scrapers was the latest, or snow scrapers.
Yeah, that sounds
something
right.
with this side. Yeah. That was kind of a weird one-off pyramid, toe in off a big ramp, hip jump. So
wow.
It was.
And you judged that?
We judged that. Yeah.
Oh, that's fun.
It was kind of strange, but we got to go to like Red Bull headquarters in New York, and team overall meetings of how the whole event's going to go down. It was they're crazy. I don't,
They're on point.
yeah, they're
But they couldn't convince you to drink the Red Bulls.
no.
Those early ones that you had in Austria, they were weird, right? Like I remember
They
having
were
the
totally
Austrian
different.
ones. They were strange.
They were, and it was
You
always
didn't know what you were drinking.
Red Bull, and it was Red Bull vodka, however they, and it was red vodka and Red Bull, and people are bouncing off the walls.
Totally.
And,
Yeah. I remember the first time I had them. Rep came in and he brought us the Austrian ones.
Okay.
Weird writing on them.
Yep.
And I had two, and I should not have had one. I had two, and I had heart palpitations or something.
And still to this day, I can
definitely
smell.
Yeah,
I can smell when somebody cracks open a Red Bull. I can just
It's
like
totally
oh.
medicinal or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
It's crazy, but I mean, whatever they've done, they've created this, sports machine that cranks out these athletes and supports them with, rehab centers that are really aggressive and
the training facilities that they,
training,
I
yeah.
mean, I remember kind of the first one, it seemed like, in my eyes, I'm sure there was probably some before that, was when Shaun White was sponsored by Red Bull, and they built him the half pipe, the secret half pipe in Colorado with the foam pit.
Yeah.
This was before airbags,
Yeah.
I'd love a Red Bull helmet, but that wasn't even a reality back then. That
Right,
was,
right.
and I try and, again, reach back and go, I had a little part to do with these kids getting these Red Bull helmets and these monster helmets and the rails that are on the ground on ski resorts and the half pipes and.
Yours is one of the only tricks that's still current. Like, people still do cripplers. And everything else was basically invented in skateboarding, all the grabs and all that stuff.
I feel like the Crippler is to snowboarding like the McTwist is to skateboarding.
Yeah, like
to me, it is not I shouldn't say groundbreaking, but it is a root trick. It is a base trick now. It looks spectacular. It's quite easy in a sense. I shouldn't say that.
You still do them?
I haven't.
When's
in a while.
the last time you did a crippler?
Oh, probably 10 plus years. But I have an idea that I want to try and create this year if the snow helps, and I'm feeling good of where is that picture in my house? I have a picture of it in my house of this natural quarter pipe that occurs at Brighton that this guy got a picture of me, and it was on the cover of the local Utah Winter Sports Guide way back in the day when I was riding a canoe.
Rad.
I want to try and recreate that this year that I'm riding. But this one was without a grab. It was more of an inverted J tear without touching.
Yeah.
The Crippler became more the Crippler when I started to grab it.
Yeah.
And just flopping over, which I wanted to do one at Woodward last year.
Into the foam pit? Would you do one into the foam pit?
Oh, absolutely.
First, you think?
I would
That'd
probably
be
do.
worth
I'd probably
documenting.
do a couple frontside inverts.
Yeah.
Just and then flopping over and then maybe trying to throw without it. I don't know. I don't ride with a helmet. People are probably gonna whatever.
Yeah, I
I'm
don't
old
either.
school.
I don't either.
Well, okay. So,
we're probably going to run into each other now and hit both our heads together. I definitely feel the pressure to get a helmet. You're feeling that pressure?
Well, absolutely, I do,
Yeah.
and I feel totally comfortable riding with the helmet on my mountain bike. I've ridden with helmets on my snowboard because they made it at times, and obviously I rode motorcycles and I'd wear a helmet and stuff like that. I'm not opposed. I'm not anti-helmet or anything like that.
Me neither.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
It's just one of those. I don't know.
I've never had the right helmet. I've never had the right one. Like, I've never put a helmet on my head and gone, this is it. This is the one I'm going to wear. I do snowmobile with a helmet, like a full face helmet.
I gotta take a piss.
Oh yeah, for sure. We'll pause that.
To do the Craig Kelly camp right next to them.
Oh, of course.
Just see the total difference.
Yeah. What was the difference between Ken's camp and Craig's?
Well, Craig's was corporate and Ken's was free for all. It's just just Craig and Ken. It's just great friends, but they're just the two total opposites.
Oh, that's amazing. I love it. Yeah, so you would have come up to Blackcomb for camp a few times, right?
I came up a bunch. I really loved. I remember Kelly Jo after I broke my leg. She's like, "You have to come up here. We'll snowmobile you up every day." She wanted me to because I was the head coach for the Kelly camp for a couple years,
And who were the other coaches that were there at that time?
I think Alec Warburton.
Yeah.
Terry would be a guest coach. I
Rad.
think Fulton had some capacity.
Sweet.
You know, there was I gotta forget all those guys.
Yeah.
Mike Estes, because Mike Estes and I would usually drive up from Mount Hood. He would be at he would be at not High Cascade, because High Cascade wasn't even there yet. He was at the first guys camp, USSTC, and I was at Mount Hood Snowboard. You got your.
It's because I talk to people about this stuff all the time. Yeah, it's because I talk to people. Like, I mean, I went to Wendell's, and I remember we had a snowball fight with High Cascade was there at that time, and that was really fun. It's such a good vibe. Summer camp is so good. It's just so fun.
I really want to go back up there now and see like the tow ropes and the airbags and all that stuff. I remember though, after Mount Hood went away, I became the on-hill manager for High Cascade.
Holy shit.
And Brian Harper and Matt Jewett were the guys for Wendell's.
Oh, no way.
And I remember I would always get up a little bit earlier and get all my stuff set up. And Harper's like, "Damn it, Davis, you're already all our banners are all up, all lining up, and everyone's coming up ready to go." And
yeah.
Well,
it was back and forth, right? Like Wendell's and Cascades would battle it out for who was like a better camp, getting more coverage, offering more exciting things for people to ride, because the pros would come in and guest coach at, say, Wendell's. But if the ship was better at High Cascade, they had to go ride that and try and get shots. Right? That's just the way it was.
It was a full-on...
poaching coaches, right?
Absolutely. And
man.
That was kind of the cool part about it. I remember when the first pipe dragon came up there. I mean, I was in the forefront, The more I go back, I feel... I mean, I never felt bad about it, but it's just nice to know that... And there's going to be a small amount of people that remember it, and the people that do remember it, I'm psyched for. So I'm not looking for a statue of me made or anything like that, But a little hey, thanks for helping pave the way is always a nice thing to see. And again, going back to the other day at Brighton was just awesome to see that snowboarding is alive and well in 2021 going into 2022.
Yeah, what was the first year you rode? Like, what was the first season?
To actually ride on a lift would have been probably, it was absolutely at Alta.
Yeah.
On the little K-tail, little plastic skis.
You were a part of that group.
Absolutely.
Oh, wow.
Dennis Nazari was there.
Yeah.
This was all but we all... Back then, snowboarding was so small. You would always kind of see the same people, and all of a sudden, word gets out that you can go snowboarding, and so there was obviously no Facebook, nothing like that. We just, I don't know how, I wonder how the information got out and how I guess it was telephones and
somebody would call and say, "Hey, I heard that they're riding a lift at Alta."
Yeah, and you got to ride little skis, and so we all go to Kmart and buy our little plastic skis or whatever, or go to the.
Who comes up with this? Like, who came up with that?
Alta came up with this idea because of the winter stick. Mm-hmm. Had the gigantic skeg that was probably that long, and it hung down and it was wide, and so it would rip a rut through the fresh groomed snow.
Yeah.
And then the Burton Woodies, which I was riding, or the Sims 1500 FEs that had a P-Tex bottom but no metal edges, but they still had the fins, which would kind of help you turn. They just ripped up the corduroy. So they said you could only ride the powder.
Oh, my God.
So that's why you had to get off the chairlift on the skis so you didn't rip up the down ramp. And then if you came across a groomed run, they wanted you to walk across it, put your snowboard back on, and ride down the because back then this is in the early 80s.
81. Probably.
Yes, absolutely.
81, 82.
And there's no snowmaking. This is all real. This is real life snowboarding. These days now everything's man made. It seems like
totally.
Which is for Utah. I have to go on this real quick that it just sucks that. I mean, global warming is an issue. There is. I mean, I hate to. It's just from living here my whole life to see it is December 9th right now.
Yep.
And to barely have my first snow on my ground in my backyard is heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Back then, I mean, growing up in this town my whole life, right now there should be snowbanks on all these streets about 2 feet high all the way around. And they would start in December. You would always be snowboarding or skiing by Thanksgiving. The full mountain would be open by Christmas, you know. I mean, that's just the way that it was. It's not going to happen anymore. I recently said I got into fishing, and going up to our reservoirs, it is unbelievable that less than 2 years ago, some of these reservoirs were full to the brink.
Yeah.
And now they're so low. I don't think in my lifetime I will see them come back up to where they need to be. I hope to God they do, but I'm so afraid of, you know, I had a friend that was telling me that he was watching a study that there wasn't going to be snow below 10,000 feet within about the next 20 years.
Oh, God.
And then those same scientists went back recently and looked at what's going on now, and they say, well, we probably were wrong. It's probably going to be within the next 10 years that we won't see snow below 10,000 feet. And Brighton sits at 8,800 feet.
Right.
It's scary.
It is scary.
It is very scary.
I saw something a few years ago that I'm not going to try and do numbers, but a significant amount of the places where the Winter Olympics have been held no longer get snow at that elevation. So like it was consistently getting snow, and then now it's just it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen.
If the Olympics were going to happen in Park City like they did in 2022,
yeah,
I think it was 2002.
2002. Right.
I don't think they could have them in 2022.
Right.
Right now.
I
mean, I guess they could if they just focused 100% on the venues, but then there's no skiing for anybody. I mean, you look at the upper mountains of these. I mean, it's and the other thing that kind of really is irritating that these ski resorts have spent millions and billions of dollars for their infrastructure and everything, but they're not batting an eye at what's going on. And like, you guys need to start thinking more about the longevity, maybe some mountain bike trails and that kind of stuff, because if the snow is not going to happen, how are you going to pay everybody? Where's the income going to come from? So me being an avid bike rider, bike riding really paved my way into snowboarding. I was skateboarding and stuff, but like I said,
can I ask you about the Haro thing? Like, were you on the A team with like Dennis McCoy? And
I was not on the A team. I was like on a B road team.
Yeah.
But Dennis McCoy was there.
Yeah.
He was. I mean, I remember Dennis McCoy coming for a demo, and we joined them for a demo here at a couple of bike shops.
Wow.
That's Matt Hoffman was on the team before Hoffman Bikes.
That's right. Matt fucking Hoffman.
I don't know if Dave Mira was on there or not. McCoy's been on there forever.
Yeah. And those were those like Haro freestyle bikes, like the ultimate.
I have my Master downstairs.
Oh yeah, Haro Master, right.
I have my Haro Master.
Yeah, was there Haro Master, and was it? Am I right on the freestyle? No, just GT freestyle. I'm getting mixed up.
No.
Yeah, the Haro Master. That was like, I couldn't afford the bike.
Twin top tube.
Yeah.
I mean,
you still have yours.
Yes.
I saw somebody was selling their original Jeff Brushy.
Oh,
It was like $5,000 or something.
I got a good story about that with the Burton team. Okay.
Yeah.
With Brushy, and I mean, so I signed the contract with Burton. Going to all of a sudden now I'm going to training camp about this time, September, Octoberish in Donner Summit, California. The new team trainer is Jerry Masterpool. He picks me up at the Reno airport. And he's like, I need to stop for anything. And I'm like, yeah. So we stop at a convenience store. I grab a 6-pack of beer or whatever, and, you know, this, that, and the other. And we get to the house at Donner Summit. I walk in the door, and I'm hearing, what the hell? It was a reggae song. Brushy's blasting upstairs. Fire up the ganja. It was like Fire on the Mountain from Grateful Dead. It was Fire up the ganja. And so I'm listening to this, and then all of a sudden, you know, Paul Alden is telling us the rules of the house. There'll be no drinking. There'll be no smoking. There'll be no... And I'm like, oh, my God. I've got a 6-pack of beer in my bag. Jeff Brushy's upstairs blasting Fire up the ganja. I'm like, oh, God, here we go, you know. So That was an absolute awesome time in my life to room with all those guys. Brushy, Craig, Alex.
Craig was pretty straight and narrow. Hey, he didn't smoke weed until he was older, I don't think, from what I understand.
I'm going to say no comment on that. No, Craig, I have so much respect for Craig and the times we had together. I never saw him. I've heard some rumors, this, that, and the other, but
yeah. Well, I think Kelly Jo talked about it and said like he didn't love that she smoked weed all the time.
Yeah. And Kelly Jo and I are great friends.
Yeah.
Craig and I were
She's
great.
amazing.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Shout out Kelly Jo.
Hell yeah.
Love you.
You should go up to her place in Glacier before she sells it.
I know, and I'm with Barrett. Well, we were talking about the
secret project.
The secret project. Hopefully, I can make it up if everything goes well to the LBS this year. Would be pretty sweet.
Oh, dude, how fun would that be?
Yeah, it would be awesome.
Yeah,
so,
man, I want to go to that too.
So I did probably 3 or 4 of those.
Good.
Early days.
Yeah.
Love to go back up.
It's such an event.
I'm so glad to see that it has been embraced and just locked down. Like this is the way it should be.
Yeah.
That's really cool, and more people need to look at it like that and do things like that too.
I had Gwen on the podcast. It was an older show. It's kind of embarrassing to say, but the first couple of seasons, as I was interviewing people, I remember sitting across from Gwen and hearing her talk about the ski resort, and my eyes glazing over and being like, "This is kind of fucking boring." And she just said that she's a skier, and I'm like, I can't put this out. It doesn't make sense. And then last year or the year before, I was hurting for episodes, and I went back and I listened to her episode, and I was like, what the fuck was my problem? That was so cool, hearing about Duncan making the resort and the way that they're managing it. They're not like doing crazy advertising, and they're not trying to get people to come. They're not like trying to load up that mountain past capacity. And it's been busy as hell the last few years, but they're not going to upgrade their lifts to make high-speed quads so that more people come. They're going to just operate within their limits,
and that's, I found that at first I thought it was like, what is it? Because I'm coming from Salt Lake, and I've got all these mountains within 20 minutes. I mean, just
Yeah.
And then you go. Baker's awesome. I mean, don't get me wrong. Baker is no messing around.
Yeah.
It is some badass shit.
Yeah.
But I thought it was like, when I first went up there, they were only open on the weekends.
Yeah.
I mean, they were like, it was like Friday through Monday, it was just something limited. I'm like, what the hell?
And a bunch of double chairs with no bars. Just,
I look back on it now, and I was so fortunate to be able, like the photo shoot that I was telling. I mean, to be able to go up there on my GNU days and the Howitts running the place, and to be nobody there.
Yeah.
We had the whole mountain to ourselves. We could do anything we wanted.
Yeah.
I look at it now going, I was kind of a little jackass, a little smart ass back then. And wow, I was really lucky to have Baker my own way, my own terms, and do whatever. Hey, we want to go over there, Duncan. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
We want to go over here. Okay.
Top to bottom untracked on Baker is just, there's no other resort like it. There really isn't. KT22, I guess it's called the Palisades now. They've changed the name of Squaw Valley.
Squaw Valley, yep.
I think it's...
it used to be KT22, that face right there.
KT22 is still called KT22.
Okay.
It's Squaw Valley. They've changed the name because squaw is not a rad word.
Oh.
Yeah. So they're being forward thinking on that one. And so, but the KT22 chairlift is, Baker, KT22. You're kind of tossing one for the other. You could go to either or.
Yep.
And on a really good day, oh geez, I don't know what I would pick. If I didn't have to, if it was the same drive, and the same amount of effort, and the same amount of people, you could have it to yourself.
Oh, it's that. I don't know where I'd go either.
They're amazing. They're amazing resorts, both of them.
Unfortunately, now to get the goods, you got to spend a lot of money and go on a helicopter. It seems like.
Well, I've got a sled, and I did spend a lot of money on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I missed that. I was talking to somebody the other day, and I wasn't. I mean, I was motorcycling and jet skiing. I just never. I mean, I'm not afraid of the backcountry, and I was always getting flown in helicopters to go back there. That was the, like, why do I need a, I'm going to take my motorcycle here. And if I'm going to go snowboard, I'm either going a helicopter or I'm going to go on a chairlift. I don't.
Right.
But I get it now.
It's sick. It's really, really good.
Utah in like bigger little, maybe Big Cottonwood's probably a little easier, but I think I don't even think you can take snowmobiles up there, maybe on the backside. I don't know. I'm a rookie. I don't know I'm not even a rookie. I don't even know anything about it.
Yeah.
I mean, but it has definitely opened up. I mean, I think it's so rad to see the guys push their snowmobile off the cornice, and then they're like, I mean, that's pretty cool. You know?
There's some ghost laps in
I
Whistler.
could see myself getting into that.
Well, the nice thing is, too, now with sleds, like, old sleds are fairly current. Like, I've got a 2014 or a 2013, and it's still, it works.
The
geometry of it works totally. So you'll start seeing after COVID, like when COVID hit, everybody wanted sleds. So there was no used ones anywhere. But once you've gone up for a day or two, you'll be like, holy shit. In some ways, it's better than heli. Just in that as you're driving up, it's kind of like boot packing up what you're going to come down, as opposed to like flying over and then getting on and then going, wait a minute.
And then the guides go check it out, and then they're like, no, stay in the heli, you're going to fly to another zone.
That's the other thing is that you've got guides, right? Like, so, I mean, for safety, having guides is awesome. Yeah. For freedom, having guides really sucks. Like, is how many times are you in a heli, you drop off and you look at a run and you go, okay, I'm going to go down here, hit that thing and hit that and then cut across. And the guy's like, no, you're not.
You're going over here.
Yeah.
On this,
and stay close to my tracks, actually.
You're going on this 25-degree slope.
Yeah. And you're staying within my tracks. You're not going to the left of where I go. I'm setting your boundary right here and you don't go over there. Yeah, I've had that a lot, actually. But it's fastest and it is the most fun. You cannot complain about fucking heli. Heli is amazing.
No, heli's my first heli trip was in Wasatch Powderbirds, just after my friend Drew got in the famous helicopter wreck at Wiggly Powder 8s. I mean, my friend Drew. I mean, that was...
Evan Feen was there. Patty Patron.
It was a heavy thing.
Heavy day.
And we're riding for Nitro. We're going to do, this is the new Nitro team. We've just assembled all these people. We're going on our helicopter trip. And this is maybe, I don't know, less than 6 months or something after Drew had been in. And I'm more scared. He's just calm as a freaking cucumber. And I remember rotating up from the helipad at Snowboard and then busting over the ridge over Superior, and I'm just like, oh my God. And I look over at Drew and he's just like, and you can see, and it's in the video, my eyes probably just go, I mean, massive, because I've never seen anything like this. Drew's an old veteran. I mean, he gets in a helicopter wreck and then they have to fly him out in a helicopter.
That's nuts.
That same freaking day. I mean, oh my God.
Yeah, that is a nuts story.
That was, and then from then on, it was a helicopter frenzy for a couple years here in Utah and a couple other places, I was so fortunate to.
It's hard not to get jaded, though, hey?
Oh yeah.
Like go back to a lift line and it's already tracked out, as opposed to like you get dropped off in a heli, it's like you're not even going to see tracks. Mm-hmm. That's their job. And that's compounded now that. My mom and I were lucky enough to win the lottery draw for what's called the Wave, a very highly publicized hiking spot in southern Utah.
Nevada, or I think it's Arizona, actually Arizona. It's called the Wave, and only 20 at that time. Only 20 people per day could go to see it, and we just went to Zion National Park, walked through there, saw everything we wanted to see in Zion. We're like, well, let's just go down and throw in our daily lottery and see if we can make it. We win one of the spots of the 20 for the people that go in the next day to the Wave, and that spoiled me because they take us into an interview and like, well, you're going to be spoiled now. You're one of 20 people that are to go in here once a day to see this amazing feature of geological art. And my mom and I get to go there for about 45 minutes all on our own before anybody gets there, and we start walking out, and there's 18 other people coming in because we're the 19th and 20th.
Yeah.
So that did ruin a lot of it too. It's just like the freedom. You go anywhere, and so patience now is such a virtue, and I'm trying so hard to lift lines, and COVID was awesome.
Yeah.
I shouldn't. I'm not. I mean,
Yeah,
COVID wasn't. I mean, it was in a way. It was. I like my personal space. I don't want somebody breathing down my neck when I'm standing in the grocery line. I don't, that was the cool thing. I don't want to say anything cool about COVID. I mean, it's a horrible thing.
Yeah.
But it kind of, to me, it brought back manners to everybody of like, let's give people personal space. Let's, let's respect everybody's, area.
Yeah, man.
So
I got you.
That was a small little sidetrack of I don't even know where the hell that went, but we're having a good time.
Oh, Jeff, it's so good to see you again, man. Yeah, right from when you opened the door, I'm like, this guy, this is great. I think Nazari asked me, how the hell do you know Jeff Davis? And I was like, well, first of all,
that was the greatest story. That's the coolest story ever.
That was just
that
fun
was
with
so,
Benny.
That was so awesome.
You came out and we had stolen your board. We moved it, and I mean,
you guys saw me. You guys watched me. Benny's like, "There's Jeff," right? I can almost. I didn't even know what happened.
What he said was, "There's Jeff's board. That's Jeff Davis's board." I'm like, "The Jeff Davis, like Nitro Jeff Davis?" He's like, "Yeah," and he goes, "Hey, I'm gonna hide it on him." I was like, do you know him? Like, can we ride with him? He's like, yeah, totally know him. Let's go ride with him. First, we'll hide his board, and then when he comes out, you watch what happens. Watch what happens. You came out, and you just instantly like went, whoa, like looking in every direction, like holy shit!
That was a prized possession.
It's a very nice board. It's a swallowtail, and it was
it's
like
the Nitro Squash.
Yeah. Like a pretty big board, 170, 180.
No, it's a 159.
Oh, 159. Okay, and you were dressed all stylish, all black. I was like,
it was a good day. Yeah, it was a nice day.
It was an awesome day, and then we rode all day, or rode for 5 more laps or something. It was so much fun. We hiked the ridge, did we not?
I think we did go to Baldy.
Yeah, we went up, hiked the Baldy Ridge, and then that night,
well,
you had all your buds. And
they're not coming by tonight.
Gave me a little, thank God. That was out of control. No, that was fun.
That was a good. Fun. And I'm surprised I'm really happy about the content. I was a failure.
Yeah,
I was a failure that night. I mean, I thought that night to get to see the history that really didn't know. I mean, I knew, but I didn't know. My friends were so pivotal.
Totally.
In the split boarding. Yeah. I mean, I know these guys were doing that, but I'm off, doing this and doing that, and they're like, we screw ski resorts. We're going in the,
we're gonna.
And that's where we all started. We all started in the backcountry because we couldn't go to the ski resort. So I've had all my time. I've hiked tons of stuff. I've done all that. Split boarding, to me is relatively new, but it's definitely old to a lot of my friends. But it was really neat for that first podcast that you did that was awesome to see what came out of that. Like, oh wow, my friend and I,
yeah. What's great about it too is that I realized how the history of snowboarding is not Jake and Tom. It just isn't. There's so many pockets of places where a really thriving scene started, and I just on this trip I noticed or found out about the Colorado scene. Colorado was so central.
Oh, Steve Link with Summit Snowboards and all. I mean, Jeff Grell. I mean, my God. I don't know if Jeff was from Colorado. He may have been, but I mean, he was a huge influence. I mean, there's so many people.
Yeah, so much going on in Colorado, so much going on in Utah, so much going on in Canada, in eastern United States, in New England. There's all stuff going on, and the West Coast and the Northwest. Like, there were these pockets of enthusiasts that would get together at those TDK World Pros or at the Breckenridge Worlds.
TDK.
How'd you do at that one? Did you do all right at that one? You would have been on Burton at that time.
That one, I think I got 7th. I think I got 7th. I have a good couple fulls. I was on Burton. Yeah, I remember TDK.
Yeah.
I think Palmer won that
might have been the one
it was
that
a
Palmer
fluke
really won.
because he did one big air.
Yeah.
That's back when judging was really, if you were in Colorado, or, I mean, it was just biased wherever you went. But
yeah,
it was, hey.
So Palmer beats Craig. Then there's probably Jacoby, Duck Boy. You're up in there. There's a handful of
Bert
legends.
Lamar came up out of nowhere. The skateboarding guy he was a skateboarding guy, and then he was the hairdresser and came and just dominated.
That is nuts.
For a couple of years and started his own company, just like,
totally.
Damn it, Bert, what the hell?
Yeah.
And Bert was he was actually a really good guy.
That's dope.
I was always respected him as a skateboarder, and then I was like, kind of like a little like, who are you coming into my sport? You know?
Yeah.
But then he actually knew how to ride a snowboard, and he's like, all right.
Yeah.
Then
he designed a bunch of wacky stuff. Yeah.
A bunch of wacky stuff, exactly.
And then he got Rankwit and Sean Johnson and Jimmy Scott and Don Zabo on the team, and those boards were sick.
Well, and then they did the look, with Steve Graham,
Sione.
Right. That whole deal was huge.
Yeah, that was fun too. Yeah, and then Steve does his own thing with reality, and Graham, Steve Graham and Dave Sione goes into filming, which is insane.
Cinema Sione. Oh my God, Dave Sione is. Dave and Steve, they were adversary. They were the competition back then. But then once you meet the guys and you hang out with them, and they're not scary. And that's what's so cool. And I have so many. Dave, I don't have a bunch of stories with Steve, but with Dave Sione at summer camp, I have a few really good stories about that. I hope that, I don't know how that's happening. I hope there is still the kinship. There is rivalry, but there is also, we rivaled each other. I remember at Blackcomb one time, Palmer, I'm taking a piss, and I see Palmer. I mean, he's trying to be sly.
Yeah.
And he sees me walking to the bathroom as he's walking out, I'm walking in, and I drop my backpack down, and there's a mirror right there, and I can see him trying to take my backpack and just try and mess with me.
Yeah.
And I turn around, I'm like, what, Palmer? What? He's like, just shit like that was just classic. We all, we were all good friends, and I really hope that's still happening if they have meetings at contests at X Games like they used to or whatever, because that was the way it was. We'd be fierce competitors on the pipe or the mogul field or whatever apparatus we were supposed to ride that day. Because they would always create it. It was always something new.
Yeah.
But that was what was cool, that we all, at the end of the day, because they would always throw a big party, and that's how I met Tina Bassich. Was they would come, we'd go to Colorado, we'd go to California, they'd come to Utah, we'd have these little snowboard contests all around, and we'd all see, it was just a handful of people. But I remember at Breckenridge at the World Championships that one year, they set us up with free beer and pizza and salad at some place, which is like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And she walked up to me, and she's like, and I couldn't get a salad, and she's like, do you want a salad? And I'm like, whoa, and that's, so that was another fun. I mean,
she's a big sweetie, hey?
Oh, she
really is.
Everyone loved Tina.
Yeah.
I mean, and they still do, and they should, because
Yeah.
she's an amazing, ripping snowboarder,
Yeah, Shannon Dunn was an incredible
Shannon Dunn.
ripper in the pipe.
I mean, there's so many.
Cersei Wallace. Yeah,
So many women.
Yeah, I haven't had any girls on the show yet this year, which is bad. I got to find some to get on here. It's not that I'm biased, or
No.
maybe it is that I'm biased. I hope it's not, but it's.
I think the time will come when it'll come apparent. Who knows?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't think you're biased.
No, last year I intentionally brought a lot more women onto the show, and it's fun. It's a whole other aspect of snowboarding that's growing really quickly right now, and they're getting really good, really fast. It's super engaging to watch, and it brings a different energy to the culture.
Oh,
right from the beginning with the boarding for breast cancer, for example. How cool is that?
I don't have any words to say. I'm so happy to see that snowboarding has opened up. I mean, it's become a global. I mean, it's just seen that we are worthy. We have, we're normal people. We like to have fun.
Yeah.
And we can do good for, it's just always been like skateboarding looked horrible and you could never make a living on this. And as you were told back in those days, now these days, finally skateboarding, snowboarding, surfing has pushed forward. To me, it seems to the point that it is legitimate. It is not something that your parents will go, you can't make a living at that.
Right.
It is, they will push you. They will help you,
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
it, which is to me feels good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which it should have. And yes, I always wish that I could be 25 again, and make the money that the kids are making now.
Sure.
But then I walk it back and go, okay, I did good. I had fun. And I look at it again, once again, going back to just the other day at Brighton. And hell yes, snowboarding is alive and well. And I think and skateboarding too, thank God for Tony Hawk and Bucky Lassick and Bob Burnquist and guys like that have stuck around and really pushed it forward and kept skateboarding in from not dying. Skateboarding, snowboarding was lucky that the Olympics grabbed onto it. I'm really surprised that skateboarding let its reins down for Olympics,
especially after what happened to snowboard competitions once the Olympics showed up. I agree with you there, but it is. I you know what, I'm starting to feel like. When I started this, guys like Keith Wallace, when I would talk to them, would say, I haven't talked to anyone about this in 20 years. And now more and more, that's rare. Like now more and more people are starting to recognize the history, to look back at the history and be like, this is where we came from. And these are some of the people that made it really happen. So there's been a number of projects in the last 20 years that are doing that. And it's getting more prevalent. And I maybe at some point, some way we'll have, like a Hall of Fame or like a recognition type thing. And it's going to feel really, really good when that happens. See you, accepting your Lifetime Achievement Award. I mean, and that's another thing I just want to say right on the mic is that when I met you, the day I met you, you were shredding, and like you're hungry, you're still snowboarding. That you are our, legend that's still keeping it going, that's still going. I love that. Because there's for everyone that's still going, there's 100 that just don't do it anymore.
Well, I grew up here, and skiing and snowboarding is a lifestyle.
Yeah.
I just got fortunate enough, I guess, to be good enough to get paid at it.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean because I don't get paid, I'm going to quit.
Right.
I mean, I love it too much. That's why I do it, and that's why I will continue to do it, and it'll probably be the thing that maybe ends my life. I hope not.
Yeah, I hope not too.
But if I do die snowboarding, I will die, I'm sure, happy. And it is so nice to see that it's still living on right now. I hope that it doesn't die out. I hope that, the kids will still be hungry. I think they always will be.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's cool to hear you say that because, there's a bunch of people that listen to this show and snowboard. And next time you're out on the hill, look around, see what the kids are doing and try, see yourself in that. Right? That's so fun.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
It is the most. I mean, it is. And again, I go back the 9th or 10th time I've gone just the other day just to see, like, that was me.
Yeah.
That was me, like, just grinding off that rock on that same rock at Brighton because it was uncovered right there, and that kid just did it. And, like, it's such a free, fun sport that brought me so much. I mean, I can't give back to what it gave to me. I'm trying to. I'm trying. The people that paid me money to, that's just a weird. I was just thinking about that before you came over here today. Like, I was sponsored for so many years of people. I didn't have. Some of the time, I didn't have to do anything. I still got a paycheck. Still got a paycheck. I'm not even. It's August. Whatever. And
yeah,
I'm still got a paycheck.
All you have to do is be you. Yeah, that's amazing. That's awesome. So,
I thank God. I mean, I can't. I regret nothing.
Excellent.
I would, with this, my little secret not my project, but a little project that may open a bunch of doors. It could,
it could be fun.
Like you're saying, a resurgence of a Nitro snowboard Jeff Davis model could be pretty good. Nitro.
You could put that right out there, like as it was, and people would rip on it.
I think that nothing has changed for me. I've continued to evolve, and riding, thanks to Benny Pellegrino, we'll throw him out. Getting on Nitro snowboards. I was a little bit in the past. I admit it. Buying junk snowboards off, because I just didn't want to pay $500 for a snowboard, and I didn't have a sponsor.
Yeah.
I was riding decent snowboards for that era.
Yeah.
And then when Benny got hooked up with Nitro, and he said, we need to put Jeff back on Nitros, that was a game changer for me. Like, I never thought I would be riding a 155 snowboard again.
Right.
Or a 159, and that's the two sizes that I pretty much primarily ride right now.
That's epic.
And they rip, and they it's unbelievable, and it's given me, I shouldn't say a new appreciation. I've always appreciated it, but it's like, wow.
Yeah.
I thought this snowboard would, they've skimped on everything, but they skimped on nothing, and the thing rips, so...
That's epic.
Thank God to modern manufacturing.
Jeff Davis, thank you for being on the show again, man. Thanks for inviting me into your home and
Erik,
and doing this. It's always
my
good
brother.
to see you. I can't wait to ride with you again. So come up to LBS, and maybe when you're there, we'll sneak you across the border and get you out on a sled, and we'll do a mellow day.
Oh, yeah.
A mellow day of just sweet pow turns in the Whistler backcountry.
Love Whistler.
Awesome, brother.
Thank you, man.
Thanks.
FNRad shoutouts this week to Jeff Davis. Thanks for taking the time to sit down and talk snowboarding. You're one of the all-time greats, man. Special thanks to all the listeners who've reached out this week to message me about the show. You guys rock. It truly keeps me going. Be sure to come back next week for another episode of the FNRad Snowboard Podcast presented by Vans and brought to you by SIA Productions.